Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call the public meeting to order and welcome everybody here tonight. For attendance, we have regrets for the public session part of the meeting from Trustee Sipkar. And with that, I'm looking for an approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Trustee Leclerc, Trustee Buckler, any questions about the agenda? All those in support? That's carried. Thank you. I need a motion to convene to private session for property item as well as personnel. Trustee Leclerc and Trustee McKinley, all those in support? That's carried. Thank you. So this meeting will be recessed until 7 o'clock while we meet in private session. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the public meeting back to order. Sorry that we were a little bit late. We had a long agenda in private session. So we already opened the meeting, and just to repeat, regrets, we have Trustee Sipkar, and we already approved the agenda. And I would like to call upon Trustee Leclerc to present the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We acknowledge that we are on the land and surrounded by water, originally inhabited by indigenous peoples who have traveled this area since time immemorial. This territory is within the lands honored by the Wampum Treaties, agreements between the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Lenape, and allied nations to peacefully share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Specifically, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the Three Fires Confederacy, the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi, and the Huron-Wendat peoples. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture while maintaining commitment to moving forward respectfully with all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call on the director for the special orders of the day, and I would like to ask everybody to please rise.
Thank you. Larry Damphouse, 61 years old, Windsor, Ontario, crossed over on June 29th, 2024, unexpectedly. He's left a legacy of love for his family, cherished father to Nicole, Derek, and Justin, beloved brother to Karen, uncle to Julian, nephew to Dennis and Cindy, forever remembered by former spouse Dana, many friends, aunts, and uncles, predeceased by his mother, Judy, his father Paul, and grandparents Genevieve and Edgar. Larry's greatest joy in life were his children. He had an infectious laugh, unwavering love for his family, and a comforting nature. He was always ready to lend a helping hand and wore a handsome smile while doing it. Larry graced so many with his charm, his encouraging words, witty sense of humor, and generous soul. His passing will be mourned deeply. He will be missed so very much by his loved ones and never forgotten, and his memory shall live on forever. Please join me in a moment of silence. A tribute to Patty McNeil. We're deeply saddened to announce the peaceful but unexpected passing of Patty McNeil on July 15, 2024. Patty was a beloved special education teacher with the Greater Essex County District School Board. Her teaching career began 24 years ago as a learning support teacher at Sandwich West before she moved to Gaines at Forest Glade, where she proudly served as a loyal Gator for the past 20 years. Patty was more than just a teacher. She cared for her students as if they were her very own children. Unwavering dedication and support of her colleagues, she created a safe, nurturing environment tailored to the unique needs of each and every student. Beyond the classroom, Patty was deeply passionate about protecting the environment, leading school-wide recycling initiatives. She also played a crucial role as the school's computer contact, spending countless hours ensuring that technology was accessible and running smoothly for staff and for students. We extend our heartfelt thank you to the GECDSB for the opportunity to honor Patty's life. She was not just a valued colleague, she was a cherished friend, and her memory will forever be with us. Please join me in a moment of silence. Jada, a remarkable grade 7 student who touched our lives in ways that words can scarcely capture, passed away on July 31st, 2024. Throughout Jada's 14-month battle with brain cancer, she showed us what true courage looks like. Despite facing unimaginable challenges, she continued to attend school, bringing her bright smile, her unwavering determination to be with her friends. Her strength was an inspiration to all of us, reminding us of the importance of resilience, of hope, and of the power of a positive attitude. Jada was a friend, a cherished member of the school community, and an advocate for Fight Like Mason Foundation, a dancer, an artist, and a shining light to all who knew her. Her kindness and generosity left an indelible mark on our hearts, whether it was a kind word to a classmate, a helping hand offered without hesitation, or providing comforting words to her sisters Sienna and Nyla. May her family and friends find comfort in the knowledge that Jada was loved deeply and will be remembered always and forever in our hearts. Please join me in a moment of silence. Douglas Johnson. It was a shock to our facility services family to hear the news of Doug Johnson's passing away on Monday, August 26, 2024, after a courageous battle with cancer. Doug had over 45 years' experience as a carpenter, with over 20 years as a board employee. He was gentle, soft-spoken man that was very detail-driven. He practiced what he preached, measured twice, cut once. You could count on Doug having a coffee in one hand, a pencil behind his ear, his hat tilted upward, perched on one knee, ready to relate a short story that was actually never short. Doug's pride and joy were his family, and he relished helping them with any project that they could pursue. He was passionate about Grand Bend racing and camping at the drag strip with his family. Doug's absence is still felt by all of our facility services staff, and our thoughts are with him and his family at this difficult time. Please join me in a moment of silence. James Papadopoulos, the unexpected passing of Demetrios deeply saddened the Bell River Public School community. He was a longtime educational assistant with the Greater Essex County District School Board, known for his kindness and his generosity. James was beloved by students and parents, often using his own money to buy games and learning materials for children. He was a very generous, thoughtful, and compassionate man. James would often use his own money in other ways to purchase things for students when he knew that they were in need, and he never questioned, he just purchased it for them. He always often spoiled the staff regularly with coconut donuts and Tim Hortons snacks. As we remember James today, let us carry forward his legacy of kindness, of empathy, and of positivity. The joy and the love that he brought into our lives will continue to inspire us all. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Houston. On behalf of all the trustees, I would like to offer a sincere sympathy to the family members. This is a sad way to start our day. Declaration of conflict of interest for this meeting. Anyone? Actions of the private session meeting. Trustee Nelson. The items, whatever numbers they were.
Moving F1, F2, and F3, if I could move those together. Trustee Leclerc, Trustee Cook, all in support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes. We have 4 sets of minutes here. Someone want to move them all? Trustee Cook, Trustee Leclerc.
Point of order. When you say, sorry, through you, Madam Chair, when you say move them all together, I would like to have G4 move differently.
G4, those
Yes.
minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
not grouped with the other.
Okay. To the movers, you okay with that? We'll do G1, 2, and 3 together? Okay. On the minutes, all those in support of G1, 2, and 3? Okay, thank you. All those in support of G4?
Madam Chair, point of order.
You do have a question, it's not a point of order.
Oh,
You have a
sorry.
question?
Okay, a question. Well, I'd like to propose an amendment. The meeting that I participated in on that day is not the meeting that is recorded and available to the public. I watched the recording and noted there was an alteration. I cannot approve the minutes as presented and would like to make an amendment to have the recording accurately reflect what happened in that meeting and to postpone approval of the minutes until we can understand why the recording does not reflect what occurred.
Minutes aren't transcripts, so
I'm talking about the video that was available. Does not
videos-
reflect what happened.
the video has nothing to do with the minutes. So the minutes are the key points of the meeting on pages 14 to 22.
Why was it that the video was altered?
We're talking about the minutes, not the video. I don't know what it is, what your point is, what your question is. Sorry. What's your question?
I apologize that I'm confused as well. The video that was available to the public was not complete. It had been altered.
No. We're not discussing the video, so I don't know what, that doesn't have anything to do with the minutes, Trustee Armstrong. If you have a question, perhaps you could send a question to the director's office. but
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
I don't understand what it has to do with the minutes. So all those in support of the minutes, pages 14 to 22. That's carried. Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none. Moving on to presentations. And I have the pleasure of doing the first presentation. This has to do with trustee years of service. The Greater Essex County District School Board Service Recognition Award is a reflection of the pride and spirit of the GEC DSB family. We are very pleased to recognize the long-standing service of our employees and trustees and celebrate this commitment to education with a special award presentation. Those who have achieved long-standing service with the GEC DSB and its predecessor boards are presented with a pin that depicts our logo, two figures working together, reaching for a star. Recipients are presented with a bronze pin after 10 years of service. After 20 years, it's a silver pin. After 30 years, a gold pin. And after 40 years, a gold pin embellished with a diamond. I only have about 8 more to go before I get that one. But this evening, our attention goes to Trustee Buckler and Trustee Leclerc, who will both be receiving their 10-year pins. Connie Buckler serves as a trustee for our board, representing the town of Lakeshore and the town of Tecumseh. Connie's journey with public education began as a dedicated parent volunteer, supporting events and fundraising activities over a span of 15 years. Her involvement grew as she served on the Parent Council and later as an appointed member of the Provincial Parent Board for Windsor, Essex. In fact, I met her when she was the parent volunteer before she ever became a trustee. Her dedication continued through two terms as trustee for Tecumseh Lakeshore, 2010 to 2018, including various leadership roles on the board, culminating in a year as its chair. Congratulations, Trustee Buckler, on your unwavering dedication and remarkable service to public education. Have your turn. Okay. Ron Leclerc. Ron represents the town of LaSalle and the town of Amherstburg as a trustee, having been first elected in 2014. Trustee Leclerc has made significant contributions to the board, including serving as vice chair in 2015 to 2018 and chairperson in 2020. A lifelong resident of LaSalle, I think several generations. Yeah. Ron's deep connection with the community is reflected in his work as a police officer for over 2 decades and his volunteer coaching in minor sports and school athletics. His strong support for skilled trades and robotics programs underscores his commitment to enriching our schools. Congratulations, Trustee Leclerc, on your steadfast dedication and impactful service to public education. Pin. He's third generation in LaSalle, so three decades.
Of policing.
3 decades of policing. And it's also 3 generations, isn't it, in LaSalle? Four. Awesome. We extend our heartfelt thanks and congratulations to both Trustee Buckler and Trustee Leclerc for their extraordinary service and contributions to our board. Your commitment continues to inspire and shape the future of our students and our community. Thank you. Okay. And tonight we're also very happy to welcome our 2 new student trustees. Are you all ready? Who's doing the presentation? Sure. Sarah, go ahead.
Good evening, trustees, Director Houston, senior administration, and members of the public. Tianu and I are excited to be attending our first board meeting. Thank you to Director Houston for taking the time to meet with us at the beginning of our term to welcome us and help us understand our role. In August, we hosted our first student Senate meeting here at the board office. We held a brainstorming session on 5 topics: spirit days and weeks, school events and charities, how to get involved on a municipal and provincial level, goals for the year, and leadership games. In September, Student Senate met at Vincent Massey Secondary School. Tianu and I have added a new item to our agenda in which we discuss a monthly topic in small groups. This month, we discussed how to plan events effectively and strategies to get students engaged in school spirit activities. We hope that students find some new ideas that they can take back to their school councils. I took the opportunity to share the tradition of Admin Mondays, which we host at Tecumseh Vista Academy. It's a weekly meeting in the library at lunchtime for students to connect with administration. Students are free to ask questions, express concerns, or give suggestions and feedback on any school topic. We often have guest speakers on a particular topic, or there may be a focus on a timely event or issue, and there are always snacks. We have found it's an effective forum for students to get to know our principal and vice principal, and we hope other schools will adopt this idea to help foster trust, honest communication, and problem-solving strategies. This month, our schools are busy with grade 9 days, grade representative elections, senior sunrises and sunset, and much more. We have opened the expression of interest form for the Student Leadership Conference Committee to help plan and execute the annual conference. Our first meeting will be next Tuesday. Over the summer, the Ontario Student Trustees Association began their interview process for public cabinet members. I am delighted to share that Tianu Lin has been selected as the Southern Regional Representative. We would like to thank Director Houston and Michelle Marcuse for guiding Tianu and I through our roles as we begin our terms as student trustees.
Go ahead.
The student of the month for September is Amy Robbins, a grade 12 student at Vincent Massey Secondary School. Amy is an outstanding role model for this month's theme of dedication. Amy has shown dedication to her studies, extracurricular activities, and above all else, her community. Her dedication at school has earned her a high academic standing in all her years at Massey. As a level 10 gymnast, Amy trains 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. Her dedication to gymnastics has led to notable achievements, including a bronze medal in bars at the 2022 Canadian National Championships representing Team Ontario. Amy received the Windsor-Essex Sports Person of the Year Award for Gymnastics in 2023. Amy's resilience is evident in her response to a significant challenge she faced this summer, a torn patellar tendon in her right knee. Amy required surgery followed by a recovery period that has significantly affected her training. Despite this obstacle, her spirit remains strong and she's dedicated to her post-op recovery. In the community, Amy serves as a chapter mental health chair at the B'nai B'rith Youth Organization, planning and leading events for teenagers across North America. She is also involved with Sending Sunshine, a Canadian charity that has created handwritten cards for seniors. Amy volunteered over 50 hours last year alone creating cheerful letters and cards. She also finds time to work as a legal support student at a local firm organizing case files despite her busy schedules. Amy's dedication to her studies, extracurricular, and community has led to these remarkable achievements. She is passionate, unyielding, and hardworking. Congratulations, Amy, on being selected for Student Senate as a September Student of the Month for dedication.
It's okay, Harvey. Congratulations, Amy, from all the trustees. Very impressive. And congratulations to our 2 new student trustees. Very impressive first time out. Good job. Okay. We have no delegations for tonight's meeting. We do have 2 people on the speakers list. I'll call up the first. Selena Hamilton is coming to speak about the speakers list. Great. Okay, welcome, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Chair, trustees, administration, all the gallery, and online. My name is Selena Hamilton, and I wish to speak to you tonight regarding the speakers list as an effective tool of GEC DSB policy number PAD52. For those not immediately familiar with this policy, it is titled Public Concerns, and it reads, the GEC DSB aims to enjoy the benefits of positive two-way communication with all the individuals and organizations that have interest in public education. As a public institution, we bear the responsibility of being open and accessible to all citizens of Windsor and Essex County. Communication among all parties supports the board's mission. I'd like to start by clarifying that the group of us have been participating as speakers and delegations since 2022, and there have been positive outcomes. 2 books we were very specific about were taken out of circulation. I'm sure this board was shocked and upset by the material being shown, as were we, which is why we felt it necessary to bring it to your attention. Similarly, we asked that new books being introduced into the school library system be tagged for easy review online, and the Destiny Discover page for each school does show recently added books. We appreciate this window being made available to us. The Ontario Education Service Corporation, OESC, 2022 to 2026 Good Governance Guide for Trustees, School Boards, Directors of Education, and Communities has a paragraph on page 150 titled Inviting Public Input. It says, trustees have an important role to play in informing school councils and community members about how they can influence decision-making at the board level, either through public deputations or, in some boards, through board advisory or consultative committees. All district school boards have procedures for public deputations to the Board of Trustees or its standing committees. Some boards also have advisory consultative committees to represent the viewpoints of parents, other community members, and secondary students. The goal in all cases is to invite public input in a way that is focused, equitable, inclusive, time-efficient, and accessible. It may be argued that there is nothing in the Education Act that allows for a speakers list. Trustee Hatfield made this very statement during the May 21st board meeting. Trustee Burgess offered during the special board meeting of June 25th, "We don't have constituents in that we are a board, not a council." The word constituent, we are reminded, doesn't even appear in the Education Act. This is true. Other words that do not appear in the Education Act is land acknowledgement, lunch, and LGBTQ. What does appear in the Education Act is parent, 232 times, guardian, 136 times, and of course tax, 251 times. The OESC Good Governance Guide uses the term constituent 9 times. Let me give you an example. Page 32, trustees should always listen and take notes when a parent or constituent contacts them. Page 151, build trust. This means building or rebuilding of relationships with constituent groups, including board staff, students, parents, volunteers, community members, and business leaders. What other avenues are available to the public constituent to communicate with their trustee? Email, which is easily ignored. I know I've sent many unanswered emails to school principals and trustees. Committees. Selection seems skewed towards race. One trustee was even sanctioned for proposing a Middle Eastern applicant over a black one. Petitions. 2 petitions gathered over 3,000 signatures in opposition to the Kingsville naming process, and both have been disregarded. What are the consequences when voices are stifled? Decline in enrollment. The board's asset portfolio from June 18th shows that the daily enrollment has declined from 34,000 to 32,000 since 2018. This year, the province assigns $13,000 spent per pupil. The decline of 2,000 students represents nearly $30 million lost from the GEC DSB budget. Parents are choosing to homeschool their children, and parochial schools are flourishing. Advocacy groups are forming to keep parents informed. National protests fill the streets. The Ombudsman's Office receives hundreds of requests to investigate the school boards. The provincial government plans to assign an integrity commissioner to the school boards. The provincial government also plans to remove a school board's ability to sanction one of its own trustees. All of these things are a direct result of not listening to one's constituents. So let's make the most of the tools available to us. We will keep watching, we'll keep paying our taxes, and we will continually seek positive outcomes when engaging with this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of clarification from trustees? Trustee Leclerc?
Thanks very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Out of curiosity, just wondering what inspired you to come this evening to speak about the speakers list?
Because it's important to us. We understand that you have an agenda, and being a delegation means speaking only to those items on the agenda. And our concerns aren't represented on your agenda most of the time, and so having a speakers list allows us to go outside your agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Beth St. Dennis, speaking on the Trustee Code of Conduct. Welcome, and you have 5 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Beth St. Dennis. I am a parent, a godparent, and a lifelong resident of Windsor, Essex County. I am here tonight to discuss the Greater Essex County District School Board's Code of Conduct for trustees. The current Board of Trustees were voted into office October 24th, 2022, and began official duties on November 15th, 2022. Each trustee is required to follow the Trustee Code of Conduct. Here are some of their responsibilities. Ensuring that their comments are issue-based and not personal, demeaning, or disparaging with regards to staff or fellow trustees. Discharge their duties faithfully, impartially, and in a manner that will inspire public confidence in the abilities and integrity of the board. Open, honest, and transparent communication, building trust and commitment. Accountability for their decisions. It is imperative that the public have the opportunity to address trustees on record when there is a breach of the Code of Conduct. Allowing for open dialogue will help the trustees do a better job of meeting the needs of the public that they represent. In almost 2 years since taking office, there have been multiple breaches of the Trustee Code of Conduct. All of the breaches that I will mention can be verified on the Greater Essex County District School Board's YouTube channel. In regards to ensuring that their comments are issue-based and not personal, demeaning, or disparaging with regards to staff or fellow trustees, Trustee Ron Leclerc publicly berated and
No,
disrespected.
excuse me. We don't. get
I am
into-
giving
no,
examples of how the code of conduct was breached.
No.
I spent many hours preparing my speech, and I would like to
I'm
have my opportunity
sorry.
to finish
No.
what I have to say.
I'm-
I just
Point
said,
of order, I'm sorry, but we
Sorry.
don't name people. We do not name
The
people.
trustee code of
Out of
conduct is not enforceable by the public. So we're not going to, no, sorry. Sorry. You can talk about your thoughts about the code, but not about individual trustees.
Okay, I will use the examples and not the names.
No. Trustee code of conduct has nothing to do with the public. No, sorry. No, you don't. You don't. This is our meeting.
Let him.
This is, no.
Let her go. Let her go. Ron.
What are we going to do?
There is no guarantee of freedom of
So-
speech in a private meeting. Your right to public speech, your right to freedom of speech is limited by a board.
We're
Motion
not
to
gonna
recess,
argue.
ma'am.
No,
Motion to recess.
I'm going, no, you don't. You have no right under the Education Act. So I'm going to call a recess of the trustees for 5 minutes and ask the speaker to please sit down. No? Trustees, please join us in the committee room. Staff as well. Staff. Okay, I'm sorry about that we had to take a little recess, but we're now back into our public session meeting. And moving on to new business, item L1 is the annual special education plan that we have in our packet, all 100 pages of it, 106. Would someone like to put it on the floor? Trustee Buckler, Trustee McKinley, do you have any questions on the special education annual plan? Trustee Burgess?
Gotta get to it yet. Hang.
Sidebar conversation stop, please.
Excuse me, could you please sit down? Please. Okay. Good night. Good night. Thank you. Your Trustee Burgess, your question?
I'm sorry, I didn't put a
Page 67, question 12. Who do these structures affect? Examining student demographics. This is overall demographics suggest that students in RISE, this is about the discussion RISE, and for most identified special education categories are most likely to be white, male, speak English as a first language, and have always lived in Canada. And so then there are 4 action items and stuff. And I'm wondering if this arises from the Special Education Advisory Committee and, a lot of consultation, and admin did a lot of work. So thank you for that. But I'm wondering if with that statement, whether this has been examined at all, or will it go to the Anti-Black Racism Committee or the JIED Committee? Will there be any other input other than just Spec Ed Department looking into all the ensuring equitable access, et cetera? Is there any other input from those committees?
Director?
Thank you for the question through you, Madam Chair. So that does come through a report of a program review that we did, those findings.
Right.
And we'll be bringing further information to trustees in the fairly near future
Okay.
around some of the recommendations that came from that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I have another question.
The second question?
Yeah, I do.
Is
but if
anyone else for the
everybody
first
else
time?
has-
Trustee
Yeah.
Nelson?
On page, thank you through you, Madam Chair. On page 30, it talks about our school board not normally identifying student in early years to grade 2 as a response to a philosophy of de-streaming students and changing their trajectory. Just wonder how we came to that conclusion.
Superintendent Mills?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. This was a direction a few years ago. One of the priorities of the ministry is greater inclusion in the classroom. And so one of the things that we're doing in our department is not identifying but providing supports to students in our younger years. So it's not that we're taking away any support for those students in kindergarten to grade 3, but what we're doing is having early intervention. This year, we applied for and were successful with the grant, so we're going to be looking at doing some professional learning around universal design and differentiated instruction. That will affect our whole system. Principals, vice principals will be getting learning. Our teachers will be getting learning on PD days. We've got a team from the board office that will be getting learning, and those are the types of things that we'll be doing to support our youngest learners.
Anyone else with the first question? Okay. One more question, Trustee Burgess. And if you have more after that, you could send them to Superintendent Mills.
Thank you. I will. I'm not sure if I do have any more, but it's on page 68 and 69, and it's about the universal design for learning, and it's the last little nugget on 68 and at the top of the page. So it says, start a mindset shift from placement of students in partially or fully integrated classrooms to one of lesson design and principles of UDL. And then start a mindset shift in secondary so that the teachers implement new practices to address all learners in de-streamed pathways. And I think that's laudable. I just would like to know, what do we have in mind to actually start a mindset shift? That's a deep professional practice and a philosophy, and I'm wondering how are we supporting that, either in professional development or collegiality or whatever.
I think Superintendent Mills has an answer.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks through you, Madam Chair. Again, it goes to the project that we were just discussing about universal design and differentiated instruction. It will take place through professional development. So it will take place on our professional development days. We're going to have some keynote speakers. We're going to be working with the company Novak Education, and so we'll have some keynotes. We'll have some seminars that take place. So the planning process for this started at the end of August when we received approval. So we're at the beginning stages of that planning. Again, at one of our first principal meetings, we'll be doing a 3-hour learning session with the principals on how they can support UDL with their staff. And so it's a year-long project that we've been approved for. It will happen on most of our professional development days, plus other times outside of that, including things like book talks and those seminars I had mentioned. We worked with Grand Erie Board through a ministry project last year, and this is where a lot of that information came from. They're in year 2 of the project, so again, after this year, we'll continue to apply for monies to continue that work in the future as well.
Supplemental to that, just to figure it out.
Okay.
So are PD days as prescriptive from the ministry as they ever were? And when you say we've been approved, obviously there's an application, et cetera, but is it is that what's driving it, or is it something that, no, we want it because it's aligned with what we're doing and it was there?
It is a goal of the ministry, and it also is aligned with what we want to do. In some of the PD days that came out this year, it was specific to universal design, so it was a really good match.
Thank you very much. No more questions. I'll call the vote. All those in support? Any opposed? No, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. L2 is some revisions to the trustee code of conduct that came through the ministry regulation that we were required to incorporate into our policy. And there will be more changes coming in the new year as well from the ministry, but right now it's as prescribed by the ministry. Could I have someone put that on the floor, please? Trustee Nelson, Trustee McKinley. Are there any questions? No. All those in support? Any opposed? No, that's carried. Thank you. The new policy development and review. Policy and regulation, moved by Trustee Cook, supported by Trustee Buckler. Any questions on this one? This is something we've been wanting to do, and now we have a policy. Any questions? Nope. All those in support? Any opposed? A question. Sorry. A question. Trustee Burgess.
I think I asked it in the committee, I'm not sure, but is Director's Council described anywhere?
I don't know.
Glossary term, like you read it, but would we know who it is?
Through you, Madam Chair. So we did discuss it at the committee already, and we determined that it is widely known that it's Director's Council throughout the system of what that is, but it isn't defined somewhere of what it is. Some call it admin council, some call it exec council. We refer to it as Director's Council.
Okay, I'm going to resume that vote. All in support? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Now on reports to be received, M1, the report of the Director of Education.
Thank you. So it's hard to believe we find ourselves in week 3 already of the 2024-25 school year. It's incredible when we reflect upon how quickly our summer passed, and hope that our students enjoyed a safe and refreshing break, and that our staff actually had the opportunity to relax and make some memories with their loved ones. It's great excitement that we warmly welcome everybody back, especially to our newly opened schools, Beacon Heights and Erie Migration District School, along with all of the other schools and facilities across the board. September always is a new year, and I know many celebrate it at different times throughout the year. January 1st is generally a new year. For many, we always have September as a new year. New beginnings, new excitement as we settle into our routines and the changing of the seasons, although the heat recently doesn't feel like the seasons are changing at all. There's so much to look forward to, including our Meet the Teacher nights, our open houses, the Terry Fox walks at the schools, the observance of National Truth and Reconciliation Day, and we're eager to learn together and to embark on wonderful learning adventures together this year. As you're well aware, some ministry news. The Ontario Education Minister Todd Smith announced his resignation effective immediately, and we appointed a new Minister of Education. Jill Dunlop, who's the former Minister of Colleges and Universities, will now be stepping into the role, and we're eager to benefit from her expertise. As you know, she comes with a great deal of experience already in the education sector through the colleges and universities, and we look forward to fostering a new relationship with her in our best interest of all of our students. We are very pleased to announce that with the latest donation of AEDs from Frank and Lana Crismato through the Bruno Cremasco Memorial Bocce Tournament, every GEC DSB school and board-owned operated site is now equipped with an AED. That deserves a round of applause. In addition to not just having them in every single one of our sites, we have over 400 of our staff members who've been certified in first aid and CPR, which includes defibrillator training. It demonstrates our board's strong commitment to ensuring the health and safety of our staff, our students, our parents, our guardians, our contractors, our community partners, and anybody who visits our facilities. A very special thank you to Frank and Lana for making this come to fruition for us and for their generosity and their dedication to supporting safety within our GEC DSB community. On behalf of the board, I did send a letter of thank you to them. Our summer camps in July was a time of joy and learning for many GEC DSB students. Dedicated staff and community partners worked diligently to make the experience memorable. Highlights included performance by the Windsor Symphony Orchestra, field trips to the University of Windsor, the Art Gallery of Windsor, a focus on learning and connecting in an inclusive, engaging, and a nurturing environment. Very near and dear to my heart. This summer, the students from the Enhanced Construction Program and our partners with Local 494 made a significant impact in our community. They played a key role in restoring the deck of the historic Simcoe building at the John Freeman Walls Historic Site, collaborating with the local union and our industry partners. This remarkable project combines practical learning with a rich historical importance and will continue into September. In fact, tomorrow and Thursday, they will be completing the actual deck. We extend our heartfelt thank you to Dr. Brian Walls and to his wife Anna for their invaluable support and the learning that they provided to our students. The G Project, the students and the staff have once again impressed us with their talent for turning everyday items into remarkable pieces of art. The Sustainable Activism Program centered around gardening, art, upcycling for urban renewal, continues to be a source of inspiration. A highlight of this initiative you'll see there in the middle is a stunning bottle cap butterfly mosaic, which beautifully demonstrates a commitment to creativity and sustainability. There were a lot of bottle caps collected, and I know this building contributed a fair amount of them too. We had cans everywhere that you could just drop plastic caps into and created that beautiful butterfly. On Saturday, August 10th, the GEC DSB staff had a team and we're honored to participate in the Run for Rocky Legacy project. The charity Run Walk in Windsor, Ontario is inspired by Rocky Campana, who tragically passed away in 2012 after attempting to take his own life. The Campana family, together with Windsor Pride Community, aims to honor Rocky's memory by sharing his story and supporting local high schools and post-secondary institutions. The collaboration has funded GSAs, provided essential knowledge and resources for creating safe schools, and established a support system for youth in crisis. Rocky's legacy continues to make a significant impact through the Run for Rocky Legacy Fund, and it helps to create positive change even in his absence. A special thank you to our community partners for welcoming us to the Back to School celebration in Leamington and Windsor. This event, organized in collaboration with United Way, Prosperous, Windsor-Essex County Health Unit, and the Ontario Provincial Police, provided valuable educational and health resources, including free haircuts, face painting, games, immunization updates, dental checkups, books, and bicycle safety tips. Participants also had a great time making backpack keychains. I'll show you mine later. It's really great. It's GEC DSB with lots of hearts on it. And they also created bracelets during their celebration. The first day of school, especially for our youngest learner, often comes with a touch of nervousness. This year, the entire senior team and myself had the pleasure of warmly welcoming our JK and SK students, whose excitement and enthusiasm filled the school with a vibrant energy. You'll recall that we started our kindergartens this year on the very first day of school. We didn't do a delay entry, and we committed to our schools that we would be out to help and offer some supporting hands. You'll see in the middle picture there that pink backpack is not mine. It's lovely little Layla, who was starting JK that day, but the backpack was bigger than her, so she asked if I would carry it for her. We extend a special thank you to our bus drivers for ensuring that students arrive safely and to our staff for creating a safe and welcoming environment for everybody. And we think that Superintendent Allwender has a new retirement job in the future of being a crossing guard, although he did not wear the vest. As we wrap up this month's report, I want to highlight some important upcoming observances. On Monday, September the 23rd, we will have a flag raising ceremony and observance of National Truth and Reconciliation. And also in October will bring us opportunities to recognize several key cultural events and awareness, including Child Abuse Prevention Month, Learning Disabilities Month, and we will be sharing all the relevant resources on our website and on our social media pages. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. It was very nice to know that the first day of school was smooth sailing, and Director Houston participated in many visits, school visits that day. It was a good day all the way around. Any questions of the director's report? No. Well, Trustee McKinley.
Not a question, just a comment. I love the new layout and design for
Fun.
the director's report.
It's fun and happy. Just a little anecdote. I did go to some kindergarten classrooms on the Friday of the first week of school. The Tuesday, they were all so excited, happy, engaged, playing, doing all sorts of great things. By Friday, the one classroom I went to, the entire class was crying. And I said to the teacher, "Oh my goodness, what happened?" I said, "Tuesday, everybody was so excited to be here." And she said, "Because it was new and it was fun for them." Wednesday wasn't as exciting. By Thursday, they were starting to figure it out. And by Friday, they're just crying because they know they have to keep coming every day and they're going to see me and not be at home. So hopefully when we visit next time, they've stopped crying. They're fine. Thank
Yes,
you.
they're fine. Thank you. I think the first day it's the other way around with the parents. The first day they're crying, and by Friday they're smiling.
There's a lot of tears from parents.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the report. So our OPSPA director isn't here tonight, Trustee Sipkar, so I don't know if there's anything that Trustee Burgess wanted to add.
Thanks, Madam Chair, through you. Just to that, Trustee Sipkar was busy through the summer and is going to be attending Board of Directors meeting. The bylaws were, the Constitution was changed, and the bylaws were changed for ops, but at the AGM that was held in at the same time as the Canadian School Board Association annual conference in Toronto. So there's no longer an alternate for director. So Trustee Sipkar has to keep herself in good health and in attendance. And recently we just had a meeting last Friday, a joint meeting of program and policy, not unlike our ed program and ops and finance kind of thing, finance committee. And got a lot of updates, including some of the things on our agenda tonight. So we'll be reporting on that as action happens. Thanks. And a regional meeting has been given October 19th in Stratford. And it's a joint meeting as well with Central West. So we might want to circle that date.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the OPSPA report? No. Next, we have a sad report. 2024-25 in-year budget deficit ministry approval letter. I think there's a report with that. Superintendent Armstrong, did you want to speak to it?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Just as a refresher, on June the 18th, the board approved the 24-25 operating budget, and it reflected an in-year deficit of approximately $6.4 million. Based on the requirements of the Education Act and Ontario Regulation 280/19, the board's 24-25 budget was not in compliance with the Education Act, and that required the approval of the Minister of Education in order to carry the deficit that was approved by trustees as part of the operating budget. On September the 6th, the board did receive information or letter from the Ministry of Education approving the board's 24-25 in-year deficit as passed by trustees, but it was subject to several conditions. The first one is that the board is now required to file a multi-year financial recovery plan. It has to reflect a balanced budget by 26-27, which actually sounds like a lot of time from now, but actually it is not. This provides the board with 2 years to achieve the cost reductions, which includes the current fiscal year. We're also required to retain an accumulated surplus balance of at least 2% of the board's operating allocation for compliance purposes by 26-27. So if we use the current year's operating allocation as a benchmark to determine what that might look like, accumulated surplus at the end of the next school year must be at least $9 million. We are also required to continue our quarterly reporting to the Minister of Education on the financial results for the current and the next fiscal years. The multi-year financial recovery plan that has to be approved by trustees must be submitted to the Ministry of Education no later than November the 30th. And administration is also required to meet with the ministry to review the plan when it is submitted. While the current year-end process is underway, I can share with you that we are still expecting a deficit for 23-24. It will exceed 1% of the board's operating allocation, and it will draw down accumulated surplus. So once we are able to finalize those results, certainly we will bring that forward. The ministry has made it very clear to administration that the board's deficit is structural in nature, and that it must adjust its cost structures and work within the current funding framework. Unfunded costs, such as statutory benefits and staff absenteeism, are expected to be contemplated within the budget. We cannot use that as a reason for having a deficit, according to the ministry. Significant effort has been made by administration to reduce expenses in non-staffing areas, which represents only 20% of the board's operating budget. Further cost reductions to achieve a balanced budget will be required, and we will have to examine staffing and student programming as part of that process. And of course, administration will provide recommendations to trustees on the multi-year financial recovery plan, and we will bring that forward to trustees for approval no later than the November 5th board meeting, but certainly if we can do so earlier, we will certainly try. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions about our budget deficit situation? Trustee Burgess?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Didn't magically go away. It's here. So I'm wondering, because of the comment that was made through you, if I could, about absences, because we're, within a very short time about to enter into cold, flu, and COVID season. And absences always tend to go up, during that time. But am I correct in thinking that if we had some attendance, successful attendance support, a difference where absences are fewer, that this could substantively reduce our deficit and possibility of keeping staff?
I'm not quite clear on your question.
I'm wondering what attempts we're making in order to have attendance support to such a that's really kind of remarkable, because it might make a huge difference if we actually have. It's something we struggle with every year, particularly during the winter months.
Director?
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you for the question. So we do have an attendance support program. In fact, I think we have an excellent attendance support program, long before many boards had an attendance support program in place. There's also recently a PPM from the ministry around attendance supports that we need to have in place. We're in a good position, in my opinion, already, to be able to work through that PPM. There are certain times of the year, yes, I would agree, where you do see increase in it. And in terms of, contracts, they are what they are for now. And there were no changes to the sick leave plan and access to that until potentially the next round of negotiations. I don't know. But for now, staff are still entitled under their collective agreement to access that sick leave. Superintendent Boulay, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add.
Nothing to add, Director Houston.
Are there any other questions? Trustee McKinley?
I'm just wondering when the ministry plans on doing their part, because as I see it, we have negotiated contracts that they're not fulfilling their part for paying. Also, the unfunded statutory benefit costs. When will they be funding us for that portion? Because that would help significantly in our budgeting for the upcoming years, in my opinion.
So if I could answer part of that, because we discussed this at the budget meeting, that part of that unfunded statutory benefits is due to the number of unfunded staff complement that we have. So one goes with the other. So the ministry's position is they do fund the statutory benefits under the funding formula for the staff allocations if we were within the funding framework. But because we aren't in the funding framework, we have created our own deficit in that regard.
Yes, and just to add to your first part of your question around the contracts that they've negotiated, they have flowed all of the funding to the board for those contracts of the increases and of the retro payments from Bill 124.
Any other questions? Nope, seeing none, I'm going to move on to the exciting information from the audit committee meeting from last June that I don't even remember, but there's a big report from the auditor's findings. Do we have any questions on that? You have about 50 pages there that I'm sure you read on the weekend. I know. Okay, I don't see any questions. It was all reviewed by the audit committee members, just so you know that there are some people, trustees, paying attention to it. M5 is the operations update with regard to constructions and additions. Is there something that you wanted to add to that, Superintendent Armstrong, or just as it is in the report? Are there any questions? Trustee Burgess? A question? Yes? No? No? Anyone else? No, thank you for the report. Yes?
I see that Forest Glade is, oh no, no.
Trustee McKinley?
Yeah, I did have something highlighted. I noticed the Glenwood Public School, Roseland Public School, and Northwood additions are all for the same number of pupil placements and the number of classrooms, but the amount on each of those is different. Is there conditions by which they're different, or are they just like wanted to give us more and less for others?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Well, there's a Class A cost estimate that is done to form part of the approval to proceed that we send to the ministry for funding purposes, and each site's unique. And even though the design of that location, we try to use repeat designs, it just depends on each individual site that may have something unique to it that changes the cost on it.
Move next to the 2024-25 Capital Priorities Program. It's a very detailed report with a conclusion that we don't often see, but for reasons that are explained, we're taking a different approach to this year. Did you want to explain that, Superintendent Armstrong?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. You're correct. This is atypical of what we would normally do in this situation. After careful consideration and evaluation, administration, in collaboration with our accommodation planning consultant, determined that the board would not be submitting any projects to be considered as part of the Ministry of Education's request for 24-25 capital priorities. The board is currently in the midst of opening, building, or planning multiple capital projects, including new schools, additions, and renovations. There have been significant demographic community changes over the past several years, especially post-COVID, that have had and are having considerable impacts on enrollment, participation rates, and program. Many of the board's local municipalities, for example, LaSalle and Tecumseh, are also experiencing high amounts of residential and population growth, and reviewing and improving large-scale secondary plans, official plans, and subdivision plans, many of which the board has been able to reflect and comment on. As a result, administration and the consultant felt that it was the appropriate time to evaluate the board's current enrollments, school boundaries, use of school spaces, and location of programs in conjunction with new school spaces being opened or proposed to open, to have a more complete understanding of the board and school community needs over the next decade and beyond. Administration wants to ensure that capital projects that are being identified and submitted for capital requests accurately reflect the board's accommodation priorities, both for the immediate and the longer terms. As referenced earlier, the board is also working closely with local municipalities to ensure that school sites are being identified and designated as part of the projected residential growth and new official and secondary plans. Administration is working to develop a long-term land acquisition strategy to ensure that when and if new schools are required, the board has positioned itself with shovel-ready school sites and strong business cases to secure capital funding.
Thank you. Do we have any questions on this report? Trustee Burgess?
I hope it's appropriate through you, Madam Chair. I was wondering, because it does refer to a lot of demographics, et cetera, but what does our enrollment look like this year? I mean, I know it's the end of October, the full snapshot, et cetera, but is there any new?
I can just tell you that enrollment is up from the projections.
That's right. I think that's my question.
There's your answer.
Significantly?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know that it's up from the projections. Trustee McKinley?
Yeah, just wondering, I know number 2, new elementary school in West Windsor, page 203.
Thank you.
Yet, new replacement school from Marlborough, 95-year-old school, long overdue, is down at number 4. Just wondering what I understand that there's numbers? Huh? Did I read the wrong one?
We're not submitting.
Okay, sorry. I thought that was on the new one.
Yeah, no.
Small print.
Very. Okay. Are there any other questions? Just so you're aware, there will be no capital priority submission for the reasons explained in the report.
Yes, I heard that.
Explained very well. Thank you. The last report is the chair's report, and it'll be very short. Just to welcome everybody back to this school year. We do have some challenges that we'll have to work through, as we've heard in the reports tonight. So I just wanted to point out one thing to the trustees, and that is the attachment of the letter that went to the Minister of Education about our budget concerns. And it was the longest letter that we've done. It's very detailed, 4 pages long. We got it into the Honorable Todd Smith while he was still there, and then he got our letter and said, whoa, I'm not sticking around for this, and he left. But anyway, there's been no response other than what we heard tonight from the ministry about our overall budget, but there's been no response to the letter specifically. But I just wanted to say that it's attached, and there was a lot of work that went into preparing it. Trustee McKinley?
Yeah, I would just like to say it was a longer letter than in the past, but it was also the best letter I think I can recall us sending, with more detail. And perhaps we need to consider sending it to the new the new education minister. Oh, just in case it got lost in the pile of papers.
I'm sure the new minister is well aware.
Oh, we hope.
And we have to report to the minister coming up very soon about our budget situation, so, yeah. I'm sure that the file probably got passed on. Any other questions on that? I have nothing else to report. Trustee question period. Question that maybe you need to ask tonight. Trustee Leclerc?
Well, it has to be asked tonight because it's tonight. So this is the second meeting in a row that we've had disruptions that has resulted in us in having to leave the room. I do want to thank the officer and commend him for doing a very quick and good, efficient job tonight. Thank you for that. It's much appreciated. But what comes to mind is our security report. We reviewed our security, it was a year ago, I guess. And quite frankly, it's not working. We had security guards here. The security guards couldn't provide us the level of protection that we needed. The last meeting, we had 3 police officers here and 5, and they weren't able to provide us with the level of protection that we needed to conduct our meeting in public. So that's why I'm congratulating the officer for his fine work tonight. I think we need, and I'm respectfully asking that we review our security protocols. I spent 30 years in policing, and I've been through a lot. But this position, I don't think people understand that this position is really about people wanting to see student outcomes in a positive way. But this position really is not much more than a volunteer position, right? The amount of compensation that we receive does not, the honorarium that we get does not in any way reflect the amount of work that we do or the dedication. And it certainly doesn't make us a punching bag. So I'm respectfully requesting that we review that. And I want to throw this out there, and it occurred to me after our new trustees went through this tonight, we should consider moving our student trustees as close to this end as we can. I'm quite content to sit down at that end. Kiara is sitting there tonight. Explained to her that the previous student trustee had to sit right next to the guest speaker. I don't think it's fair to the student trustees that they are the front line of the trustees. I can sit at that end. I'm sure others will be willing to. I think we need to consider that. So that's my question, if we consider reviewing that, because I don't think anybody deserves to be treated the way we're being treated tonight or last meeting.
So I would just like to add to that our last internal audit report looked at student safety. What was it called? student safety. And I raised the concern that it didn't take into consideration that we have students in our boardroom. And we have an obligation to make sure that not just that trustees feel safe, but in particular that our students feel safe. And we also have students who attend the meeting, especially our student of the month. And we have had situations in the past where our guest students and family didn't feel safe in our boardroom, and it's getting to be more problematic.
So I agree with what Trustee Leclerc said, but and I agree with you about the security report. But the only part I don't agree with is waiting to move the student trustees. I don't think we need a report to do that. I think that should be done for next meeting. Trustee Leclerc already said he would sit down here. I have no problem sitting over there. So.
So we will look at that. I'll get together with the director, and we'll see what else maybe we have to do. I don't think it's just where we sit. There's more to the problem. Yeah. No. Yeah, we can do that. That's no problem. But we do need to consider what's happening at our board meetings. Trustee Buckler?
Just to chime in my 2 cents, it's not just about the safety. It's about, let's get the speakers list be gone. Speakers list be gone, be done with it. We don't have to do it. I'm done with putting up with paying for extra stuff. I'm done with not feeling safe. Let's finally say we're done.
Thank you. Trustee Cook? Any other questions for this meeting? Trustee Burgess? Trustee Armstrong?
Thank you. Through you, if I could. I've had a lot of folks really excited about the new school in Kingsville. Erie Migration has had a really, every day there's something new. Every day there's something new that's finished and great and everything else. But the fog days particularly, and some of the transportation, just the logistics of families getting used to the fact that kids that used to get a bus don't get a bus, kids that got a bus don't, vice versa. And I'm wondering what we're doing to help that new school community adjust to active transportation, particularly because there is a lot of infrastructure in that area, but there's a difference of opinion and so many partners that are involved in the active transportation routes to and from school. So I'm wondering, what have we done? I know we had an ad hoc committee, and that sort of did its work, but I'm wondering if that is a discussion anywhere.
The director?
So thank you for the question through you, Madam Chair. I'll start with, we did receive some concerns from people, particularly on the fog days when there were no buses. No school is designed for that sheer number of additional vehicles coming in and out of a kiss and ride, because we would know how many students would normally be bused, and now they're all being driven. So we have responded to every single one of those. We have had, that's fine, that's our work. We have had discussions about some of the things with our facility services department and the individuals who worked on the project for us about some things that we could potentially consider. We haven't yet made some decisions on that. I will say that I've been out there a couple of times. There's a lot of people walking to school, a lot already. And then I'll turn it over to Superintendent Allwonder for his active transportation.
Thank you for the question through you, Madam Chair. So a couple things I'll mention. I was out there Monday specifically for traffic, and so it was not a fog day. Yeah, and so it ran very well without the buses not being there. So we were brainstorming, and I was there with facility. I was also there with the planners, the transportation people from the municipality of Leamington. And we were all out at the corner where there's sort of the congestion happens there. And we did come up with some construction pieces that are going to help the driveway going into the elementary side. Okay, so that there's something we can do fairly quickly that's going to help with that. There's a longer term piece where I believe we're going to potentially, and I don't know if we're going to because they have to draw the plans up for it, but we may put another lane in that side if it's possible. That was the planner's recommendation, but that's in the future. We also decided that because the secondary buses are gone, because they start at 8:15, I believe, what we're going to do if there is a fog day again, we're going to use the secondary and elementary bus bay as a second kiss and ride, which is fairly large too. So that should help the traffic. The principal has the staff out there. He's out there. The vice principal's out there, and they're trying their best to do it. And with it being a new school, there's some learning that has to happen. So people, what they were doing was driving through the middle where you're supposed to park, but dropping the kids off there. And that's not supposed to happen. That's only for the parking. So that slowed traffic down as well. And I also, as Director Houston said, my next job is going to be a crossing guard because I provided some instruction to the one that was at that particular one where you go into the elementary, because just an example is every individual student that came, she would stop the traffic and come across versus wait, have 15, 20 of them, and then go across. So we're doing some things. When it's not fog day, it is pretty good, and we've already been proactive to make some changes. And then also, sorry, the active transportation piece. Just last week, the city of Windsor called me, and Erie Migration is going to be one of the schools that they're going to be involved with around the education with active transportation. No, it's a city of Windsor, but they want to make sure every municipality is accounted for. So the people, there's going to be people from the municipality of Kingsville involved because it's a large committee. It's going to be, and there's Amherstburg, there's LaSalle, there's Tecumseh.
Thanks very much. I know CWATS also has a part there, and I hope that we take advantage of CWATS as well, because there's a place for the town of Kingsville on that as well, and they've got some, I'd like to see some support from them too.
Go ahead,
And
Superintendent.
they are a part of the committee.
Trustee Armstrong, you had a question?
Yes, I have a question about process. For private meetings that trustees attend, what is the process by which we can get minutes of those meetings?
It's in your package.
No, this is private meetings.
Yeah, you get
No,
the
I'm
minutes.
talking small group meetings, not our in-camera meetings. If we have a meeting where it is an extra meeting, what is the process by which we can get minutes of that meeting? For example, on June 4th, I attended a meeting that you asked me to attend, but I have yet to get the minutes.
There are no minutes. I told you that. There are no, we don't do minutes on individual. That's not a board meeting. There's no minutes.
I was sure minutes were taken.
Notes were taken, and the notes were all reflected in the letter I sent you about the meeting. It's not a board meeting. There was an issue that I called in to discuss with you. We discussed it, and I confirmed the notes from that meeting to you in a letter. And I think that this discussion is probably inappropriate for this board meeting.
We will discuss in private. Thank you.
Any other questions that are appropriate for this meeting? If comes to mind later, I'm starting to encourage trustees to send your questions in through the director's office. Notices of motion. Do we have any notices of motion for this meeting? Trustee Cook?
I do. And Melissa, if you don't get this all down, I'll send it to you. My notice of motion is to remove the speakers list from our agendas.
Thank you. Any other notices of motion? No? Any announcements for this meeting? Trustee Buckler?
Near and dear to my heart is the month of September, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. I have here for our director the pin for Childhood Cancer Awareness, the gold pin. if anyone gets a chance to support Mason Foundation, to support ChildCan, to support anything for childhood cancer, I urge you to do so. And I urge you as a board to continue being as fabulous as you are. As a matter of fact, I had a mom call me this year, and I was so touched because her child's fighting cancer. And I said, I know the story, I know the walk. And she was so grateful to talk to somebody that knew what shoes she was in. And our board does that well. My daughter graduated with her class, and so will every other child because of you. Thank you.
Thank everybody for their time tonight and declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.